to yet another episode of Finally Game Music. This is episode 134 on the thematic of JRPGs. I know there's a lot of you who might have been excited for this one. I know a couple have commented for this week's episode with their suggestion of a track, but also with some little comment about why they love RPGs. But yeah, when it comes to me, I'm not too fond of the whole JRPG thing, mostly because these games are so vast in amount of time it takes to complete one of these games. And usually when I played games when I was younger, I usually was more tending to play platformers and more smaller adventures. Always when I'm looking at the more RPG-styled games, I find it hard to kind of get into it. They are more complex, they are way more advanced, and for me, looking at a lot of text all the time to get a good story, I like it more in video than me reading. Sorry, more than reading. So when it comes to RPGs, I find it really hard. But one thing that stands out when it comes to RPG music is that they usually have amazing soundtracks. And yeah, this week we have 5 songs to listen to. I'm really amazed that a couple of people reached out, so we're going to enjoy all this music together. And the first game I basically want to start out is one of my favorite games. Even though I didn't play that many RPGs, there were some that I really did enjoy. So let's start out with The Legend of Dragoon and the main song, If You Still Believe. And that was the main theme, If You Still Believe, for the game The Legend of Dragoon. And I hope you really did enjoy that one, because damn, I really find this one super interesting, because looking at this song, I actually never listened to it. Usually when you come up in the menu of a game, you're usually just either exploring the options menu really fast, but you're not there for more like 30 seconds at most. So yeah, I'm basically just instantly clicking start playing the game. I'm not listening to, and I think most of the people when they were younger, even at older age, do this kind of thing. But for us people who really do enjoy VGM, we started to savor and basically started listening to what the hell is this music that we have in the menus, and even for opening cinematic scenes as well. It feels like it's more and more becoming more common to do so, because usually games have amazing opening themes. And this is one that I really do enjoy. As I said, I never listened really to this one when I grew up, but listening to this one now, holy moly, damn of God. And I don't know if you can agree with me, but damn, this one really did give me a Nier Automata feeling. The richness of the drums, they feel more deeper, and some of the melodies in here feel like they have almost like a Arabian kind of style to it. I'm not entirely sure, but that's how I'm interpreting the song and the style of it. But just having the voice and everything, it really is a fabulous and interesting track. So when it comes to this song then, it was composed by the American Dennis Martin and was sung by the American singer-songwriter Elsa Raven, or her name is Elsa Cornish. The whole soundtrack was just too big, however, for just one composer, so Dennis worked together with the Japanese composer Takeo Miratsu. The game was developed by the Japanese company Sony and was released by the 2nd of December 1999, and this was released in Japan and exclusively for the PlayStation 1. The game was also released in the rest of the world by the year of 2000. The game was later released also on the PSN, which made it possible for PlayStation 3 and PSP users to play the game. And looking at Dennis here, who is basically the main composer for this soundtrack, he worked previously on several Japanese TV shows, which helped him to land this work at Sony and to compose this soundtrack. So when he was hired, Dennis sent 2 demos to Sony. One of these became the main theme of the game, which is this song, while the other one was not accepted with the same enthusiasm. And during the work of the soundtrack, Dennis never met his composer Takeo. And looking at the credits for other soundtracks, Dennis actually only worked on the soundtrack for this game, but he did help to book voice actors or something like that when it came to the game The World Ends With You that released in 2007. This game also had a re-release of some sort back in 2013 called just The World Ends With You Remix. The other composer Takeo here have worked on a couple more games where he started back in 1994, and he worked for the music for the visual novel series Homa Hunter Lime. So these were basically kind of released in collections, so volume 1 and 2 he worked on, and these games basically, I think it was like 3 or 4 games in one collection, but these are visual novel games. And in the coming years he worked on Jumping Flash 1 and 2, Covert Ops, Nuclear Dawn back in 2000, and his last 3 games between 2005 and 2006 he worked on Beatmania, IIXD 10-12. And sadly soon after his release for the last game, which was the Beatmania IIXD 11 IIDX Red, he passed away due to liver cancer at the age of 46. On the other side of games, he always worked on music for animes, where he basically just started his music career. So that's why he doesn't have that many games when you look at his resume or credits. So it's super interesting that he worked on a lot of different kinds of, I would say, medias, both games and anime. But that's something we're going to see a little bit more of, talking about the music that the composers made for today's tracks. It's kind of hard continuing after you talk about someone's death here, but we're going to keep talking about amazing games here and the amazing work for the games. So the next one up is a suggestion track, so we're going to read the comment from Louise, who suggested the next song. And she writes this: "Hey, I become very happy to see that there will be a JRPG theme next week. RPGs is the best, in my opinion, especially when it comes to the most classic style, with pixels and turn-based combat. I would love to suggest a song just from one of those games, namely Decisive Battle 2 from Octopath Traveler, a game that released a couple of years ago and that were really good. A fantastic soundtrack, and I hope you'll notice this through this song. So we're going to listen to Decisive Battle 2 from Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler Decisive Battle 2, and this was a request by Louise. And damn, this one this one really swept me off my feet, to be honest. I really did enjoy it. I actually had my eyes on Octopath Traveler for quite some time. However, from what I've heard about this game, it doesn't feel like it suits me that well. But I really do enjoy each and every song in this freaking soundtrack. Whew, I think I might enjoy this game way more music-wise than I would gameplay-wise, but also the game looks so freaking beautiful as well, with all these pixels moving around. And it all feels like it has this just pixel in a 3D world. It's not voxel in any way, because voxel has some whole other type of art style to it, but Octopath Traveler has really a unique and distinct quite of style they went with, and I really do enjoy that one. Super interesting, and I really do enjoy the music yet again. Whew. So the composer for this soundtrack is the Japanese Yasunori Nishiki, and the game, it was developed by the Japanese companies Acquired Corps and Square Enix. The game, it was released initially for the Nintendo Switch worldwide in the 13th of July 2018, but it was also ported to the PC in 2019, Stadia in 2020, and lastly on Xbox services in March this year. So throughout the time from it was first developed, they actually have released it quite frequently on other consoles, which is super interesting to see as well. And now that I noticed that the game is actually on PC, I was actually interested in buying it, and then I remembered, oh wait, I have another 1,000 games I haven't played already, so I think I have to wait a little bit with Octopath Traveler before getting into this. So there was something about Yasunori's name that had me kept wondering all the time, because I was getting the feeling that I've heard about this guy before, and when I looked at his resume of games and animes, I know why. Even though he might be mostly known for his music in Octopath, he is also the composer for animes such as Azure Lane and Princess Connect Redive. And yeah, the lastly named series here is a game and anime that the Super Mario Bros. Podcast have talked a lot about. So definitely, if you guys are interested in more video game music and going into more details, because Will and Carl Brueggemann are really into music. They are working with their own band, the Super Mercado Bros, making covers and such, playing live, but they also make their own music and inspired original content for games, and it's just super interesting. So if you want to go more into detail and understand more, if you have a background as a composer and such, then you should definitely listen to that podcast. And I really do enjoy this one. I recently started listening to them. Well, not recently per se, but I'm listening to like 3 or 4 episodes each week, and they have over 400 episodes that I can listen to. And they have talked a lot about the Princess Connect. And it's kind of interesting, because always when I hear them talk about it, I always hear Princess Kinect, but it's actually Princess Connect Redive. And when I start listening, understanding what they were actually talking about, and all the special episodes that I've listened to when they play music from this game, I hear this Yasunori name and I hear the Princess Connect, and just fabulous, interesting music. So this is why I was so into and why I knew this name before. So looking back at Yasunori's work here, started out by working at the Japanese company Konami back in 2010. And the first game he worked on was PES, or Pro Evolution Soccer 2011, and then he worked on the next PES game that released in 2011, and lastly the Never Dead game that released back in 2012. And this is also a game that I have, so it was super interesting to know that Yasunori worked on it, which also got me really interested in actually playing the game, because I do have it on Xbox, but I haven't played it yet. But after that, he leaves Konami to work as a freelancer, and here he works solely on animes before returning to video games back in 2017. And there he works on the synth programming for the game Gravity Rush 2. Later on, he works as an arranger for Kingdom Hearts 3 back in 2019 and Grand Blue Fantasy Versus 2020, and lastly he works as one of the composers for Final Fantasy VII Remake that also released in 2020. So it was super interesting getting this information, because we will get more information on this later in the episode. So the next one I want to throw in here in the JRPG, I would say is more of a wild card, not so classically made JRPG as Louise told for Octopath. So let's enjoy the song Osaka Land from Inazuma 11-2 Firestorm/Blizzard. There we had the mellow tune Osaka Land from Inazuma 11-2 Firestorm/Blizzard, depending on which version you had. So the soundtrack here was composed by the Japanese, which most of us retro gamers might already heard of, a certain man named Yasunori Mitsuda. The game, it was developed by the Japanese company Level 5 and released in Japan the 1st of October 2009. And it was only Europe that actually got a release in March 2012. The game, it was exclusive to Nintendo DS and were released in 2 versions, Blizzard and Firestorm. This game has over 150 unique characters, and depending on which version you had, you can have different relationships, but also different abilities that were unique to those games. But you can also kind of switch these out Pokemon style, so you can switch between these, the Blizzard and the Firestorm one, for the unique abilities, but also some of the unique characters. And when it comes to Yasunori here, he has quite a resume when it comes to video game music. And to be honest, I won't go into any more details of his work, as I would love to get a deep dive into his work very soon. Maybe not the next episode, but in an episode close into the future now. But when it comes to Inazuma 11 here, I actually played this one. I owned the Blizzard version myself. I don't remember if I sold this to a friend or not, because I don't have all my games up. It's hard for me to kind of go through because I don't know which box it might be in of all the boxes I have. But I do know I did play this game a little bit. It didn't feel that great in the beginning. You can still walk around. It's not focused on soccer, which is the focus of this game. You're basically playing, that I know of, you play the goalkeeper for a soccer team. So you can recruit new players to the team, you can utilize really cool abilities to score goals with, and so on. And in the beginning of this game, it's just a lot of text, and there's a lot of just walking around and getting to know characters before even going to your first soccer game. But you're going to explore different kind of characters, different characters to go and get these unique abilities, but also you need to train your characters in order to make them as great as possible. So you're basically leveling them up with tech points and training points and such. And there's a lot of different factors going into this game for just one match, but you have all this text and surrounding with all the characters. So I would say this is like the sports game of a Fire Emblem game. If you understand and play that game, you have a lot of different unique characters there as well. So I'm very interested. I would say this is like the RPG version of Mario Strikers. So it is a more fun, arcade-ish kind of gameplay, but you have all these story elements and getting to know characters beside the matches going on. The matches are like the least kind of focus, it feels like, when I play this game, at least. I didn't play this game for too long because I got really bored quite fast because of all the text, but I would definitely go in to get some matches going on and just enjoying the soundtrack for this game. I was actually surprised. So Osaka Land is basically played in the area of the game called Osaka Land. And I just feel it has this tropical-esque kind of feeling. It doesn't feel too Japanese, in my opinion, because Osaka is Osaka in Japan, and the game kind of resounds surrounding in a Japanese kind of country. I don't know if it is Japan, but let's just say that they might be because of the Osaka Land theme here. But I just having this music, and I really did enjoy it, and Yasunori did work on the other Inazuma games as well for the music. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. This one was so mellow, so nice. I really did enjoy each and every second of it. And when I listened to it, I was like, I really need to have this song into the podcast, because first of all, it's a JRPG that kind of sticks out from the more classical ones. It's always about fighting and such, but this is a fighting in a whole other level. So I think this is my unique kind of take on JRPG that I bring to this podcast, and I do hope you guys enjoy the song, and hopefully you might get interested in this game as well. Maybe not going to purchase the game, but maybe you will look into the soundtrack, so definitely check it out. So the next song is the second and last song that got requested, and this is actually a new person requesting, because we haven't had him in the English version of this podcast yet. We had him a couple of times in the Swedish one, but this is a request from Forsman on Instagram here, and he writes the following: "It is fun that you're going to make an RPG special. And if it's not too late, then would you please add the song Spirit Chaser from Treasure of the Rudras, a JRPG that never came out of Japan, and it was released quite late. The song is a real hidden gem according to me, and I do believe that Square succeeded in making the SNES sound chip shine with this one." So we're going to listen to The Spirit Chaser from the Japanese game Treasure of the Rudras. Treasure of the Rudras, The Spirit Chaser, requested song from Forsman. Thank you so much for suggesting this song, because damn, this song was freaking wild. I don't know why, when I just heard it was Square, I was like, Nobu, is that you? Because it was so freaking awesome, the tune. I really did enjoy this one from start to finish. It's hectic, it's super sweet. I have no clue where this song is played or anything, but I'm just guessing it's a boss battle or something, because damn, I would love to do this boss battle forever. So when it comes to the soundtrack, it was not actually composed by Nobuo, even though maybe it sounds like it, in my opinion at least. But it was actually composed by the Japanese Ryuji Sasai. I have no real clue, I've never heard of this name before either. So yeah, we're going to explore more into this soon. So the game was developed by the Japanese company Square, as Forsman pointed out. The game was released the 5th of April 1996 and was exclusively released on the SNES in Japan. The game, it also got released or ported or re-released on the eShop, and this was released both on the Wii and the Wii U, but also exclusively for Japan. However, there are a fan translation of this game, so we people in the West are able to play this game through either an emulator, or if you find a fan-made reproduction cartridge with this translation ROM on it. So looking at Ryuji here, he has worked on a couple of games actually. Started out back in 1988, where he started working on the Advanced Fantasian Quest for Lost Sanctuary. He later worked on the SAC 1 and 2 games, 1989 and 1990, but he also worked on a couple of Final Fantasy spin-offs, as in Final Fantasy Legends 3, that got released in 1991, and Final Fantasy Mystic Quest from 1992. He also worked on Tobal 1 in 1996, Bushido Blade in 1998, and his latest work was for the soundtrack of Lost Sphere that got released in 2020. And this is the same company that worked on I Am Setsuna and also has the same style. When I looked at Lost Sphere, because I didn't know what game it was, and since Ryuji have worked from so early to this late, I just had to check out what type of music he's worked on for Lost Sphere, and I gotta say, I'm super interested in Lost Sphere right now, both for soundtrack wise, but also for gameplay wise. Apparently this is something like, how would you say, it's something like Chrono Trigger when it comes to the mechanics of a battle, and then it is a large RPG game. And when I started noticing how Lost Sphere is, I also noticed that the company that worked on Sphere also worked on another game called I Am Setsuna, which apparently didn't release everywhere and it's not super easy to get a hand or hold of, but I noticed it is on Steam, and I would definitely try out I Am Setsuna, because I've heard so much good about that game, but also try out Lost Sphere as well. But Lost Sphere is also available here in the West World and easily found as well in physical condition. So yeah, I have 2 games more added to my list during this episode that I really want to play. So Octopus Traveler, we have I Am Setsuna, and Lost Sphere, and this I guess this list is just keeping bigger and getting bigger and bigger throughout this. So I'm really happy that the last game and music we're going to listen to for this episode, I actually really own this one. So Here we go with Final Fantasy VIII, and the last song of this week, The Stage is Set. And here we go, the last song of the week. The Stage is Set from Final Fantasy VIII. And I don't give a damn about anybody when it comes to loving the games that you actually love. And I definitely tell that to everybody. Love the games you love. Don't care about what other people say. In my opinion, Final Fantasy VIII is the best Final Fantasy game, in my opinion. And I know not everybody does enjoy that one. Many people talk about Final Fantasy VI or Final Fantasy VII to be the best one, for example. There are also people who love the ninth one, 10, and so on. But for me, I really did enjoy Final Fantasy VIII. This is the one Final Fantasy game that I actually played the most as well. I played 7 a whole lot as well, but I never completed the game. I never completed the 8th one either. So for me, going back to a Final Fantasy game, going back to 8 would be like the biggest challenge for me to get a revenge on this game. And most of it was because when I grew up, I didn't have a PlayStation for that long. I got it quite late. I actually won a PlayStation 1, that super slim one. And I actually won one of those through a competition. And when I actually got it, everybody else was starting to get PlayStation 2s and Nintendo 64s and so on. So it felt really outdated to me. But I actually got it back from my sister, because she was the one who liked it the most. I still like the Super Nintendo the most. So she had the PlayStation 1, had a couple of small games to it, and I actually started getting a PlayStation 2 and started getting back all these classic games that I really want. First of all, I got God Hand, and then later on, when they actually got a little bit cheaper, the original Final Fantasy games, I actually started getting those as well. But I noticed problems with playing on my PlayStation 2, and that was the time when I actually got back my PlayStation 1 from my sister as well, because she wasn't playing on it that much at all, so I just took care of it, like you should. But I didn't do much with the PlayStation 1. I still continued to play on my PlayStation 2. But I never really took up PlayStation 8 again, but I really feel that I need to do that sometimes in the future, and very soon, hopefully. Because I really do enjoy the game, the story, and the music. So when it comes to this music, it is hard to name any other composer than the Japanese legend Nobuo Uematsu when we are talking about Final Fantasy main series, at least. The game, it was developed by the Japanese Square, and it had its release back in 1999 worldwide. Japanese had it earlier, an early year release, while the rest of the world had a later year release. The game, it was only released on the PlayStation, and later the game also got ported to PlayStation 3, PlayStation or PSP, PlayStation Portable, and PS Vita. And this was through the PSN store, and this was also happening back in 2009. The game, it also got a PC release back in the year 2000, and also since 2013 the game got a Steam release. This game has also gotten a HD remix or remake or remaster as well. And when it comes to the music for this game, and specifically the main theme, Liberati Fatali, I don't know if it sounded so Italian for me, but it is actually Latin, and it stands for Fated Children. And this song, it is played during the full motion video of Final Fantasy VIII. And this Fated Children, meaning in Latin here, refers to the main playable cast, who are within the ages of 17 and 18. The lyrics for this main theme were written by Taro Yamashita and Kazushige Nojima. And when it comes to the central melody and elements of Liberi Fatali, it is incorporated in several other themes throughout the soundtrack, including the landing, the stage's set, premonition, and the game's ending theme. And I really did enjoy finding this. I didn't listen to the main theme per se in depth to know which part of this song that were kind of having incorporated of this melody. But the song we listened to is played during the preparations of the assassination of the sorceress. As well, you are able to hear this as the player party enters the mid-level of Balam Garden. And when it comes to Nobuo, he has not released anything new since the last time we talked about him. But as a small little notification here, he did work on the music for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus and Final Fantasy VII, the remake. And this was also together with our already named composer Yasunori from the Octopath soundtrack. So yeah, that was all the information I had for today, and this was 5 really great tunes. I really enjoy the soundtrack that the people who suggested themes. Both of the soundtracks were amazing. I listened to them all. I don't think I listened to every song, but I did listen a lot on each and every soundtrack there. So if you have any more suggestions about JRPG soundtracks, I would definitely want you to comment in the sections anywhere, basically, because I would love to hear more music from JRPGs. I do know a lot of Final Fantasy music, so if you have any game that is JRPG that we didn't talk about that much, I would love to hear your opinion on JRPGs and the music that you love from these games, most likely. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about this. I was expecting a little bit more comments on this with more, because I don't play that many JRPGs. That's why I kind of throw the ball to the listeners this time. But I'm super happy with what I got this week. It was amazing, and I really did enjoy all the tunes. I'm just looking forward to hear more of these amazing tunes from more of you listeners. It's a great way for me to get to know you guys as well. So other episodes of Finally Game Music, you'll find those on our homepage, Videospelsklubben.se, Spotify, or in your closest podcast app. Feel free to comment and follow one of our social medias, either on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Finally Game Music there, and you'll find it. And if you would like to hear your name within one of these episodes, then you can either request a song for an upcoming episode or by commenting on any other of our social pages or through Discord. You can also support this podcast for future content and quality updates that I want to bring this podcast, because I have so much more I want to give to you guys when it comes to each and everything, basically. But also, when the podcast doesn't need any more money for buying in the music or for upgrading the quality of this podcast, then every cash will basically go into future composers. So think about becoming a Patreon. It will be a good cause for this podcast, and it will become like a fund for new composers in the future. And the current awesome backers that we have today is Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being awesome Patreon backers. And links where you can either buy or support the composers behind the music, I will try to find all the different links where you can support them as best as possible. You'll find those in our main post in videospelsklubben.se. So for the next theme we have composer yet again, and we're going to talk about Yutaka Minobe. I know we talked about him a little bit a while back, so it's gonna be amazingly fun to go back and deep dive into one of these composers. So yeah, Yutaka Minobe next week. So with that said, I wish everybody a good week now, and everybody do take care and be awesome. So have a great one, and see you all guys next time.